So in my opinion, every single one of you should have some type of side hustle, whether or not it's driving and doing Uber Eats or flipping clothes or furniture that you find at a consignment store or whatever, right? It doesn't really matter. If you want to join the White Label Empire and actually start a business, I will link to that down below. But the other day I started thinking a little bit about some very popular side hustles that were like super popular like a few years ago that I feel are like totally dead. Like the game has changed, and honestly, if you go down these rabbit holes, I feel like you're probably going to waste time, money, and energy. And so today I want to talk about two that I feel have died in 2025. It's not to say they won't come back in the future. Actually, one won't, but one will. And I want to talk about it, right? So number one is the whole like Amazon drop shipping craze of like 2021, right? 2021, 2022, even 2020. There was a huge push for these like gurus teaching people how to do like Amazon fulfillment, Amazon drop shipping, right? Basically, the whole idea was you find popular products, you go to China, you go to Alibaba, you source these products, you drop ship them, you sell them on Amazon, and you're just gonna count your money, sipping Mai Tais on the beaches of Saint-Tropez. That doesn't work anymore, like zero work, as in like stop it, don't even try it, all right? Now, it doesn't mean that you can't build a brand on Amazon or you can't actually go to Alibaba or China to find winning products that you can sell, but they've got to be branded, right? Brand is everything in 2025. And when I talk about brand, I'm not talking about like just having like a good brand name. I'm talking about like building a brand, which includes your social media, which includes your reviews, which includes the packaging, which includes the essence and the feeling of the product and the brand that you're actually buying. It doesn't matter if you're buying a water bottle. It can have a cool brand. It can feel good, right? But if you think that you're just going to go stamp a logo on it, ship it off to Amazon and think that Amazon is going to do your bidding and dirty work and just sell a ton of products, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work like that. It used to work like that better, but the way that Amazon has kind of changed, at least from my experience, is that now you've got to have reviews. You also need to have brand, all right? Brand and reviews, it basically works like hand in hand. You need to start getting traction. If you just have some like shitty Amazon listing, crappy product, even if you've got like pretty good pictures, if you have like zero reviews, which when you start you will have zero reviews, then the only way that you're going to start to increase or grow those reviews are basically by you selling products. And typically it works like you've got to sell 100 units to get like one review. That's generally the math in terms of how it works. It's really hard or difficult to get reviews. Now, the cool thing is that there is a program that Amazon offers for new brands called Vine. Essentially, you're giving away product for free in return for reviews. It's people that are shopping for the product that you're actually selling, and it works pretty well. But typically, you're only going to get like 15, maybe 20 reviews. But in my opinion, that's a great start. But if you expect to grow on Amazon selling anything, you need to build your brand. You also need to make sure that you are not trying to be the low-cost provider. And that's another big mistake that a lot of people make. They think, okay, I'm just gonna go and try and undercut everybody and be like super affordable. And so if there's a popular product, I'm gonna go find it, I'm gonna put my label on it, I'm gonna sell it on Amazon, I'm gonna chop the price by $5 lower than everybody else, and I'm gonna win. Unfortunately, you might start to sell product, but you're gonna lose in the long run because you don't have the margin to sustain advertising or marketing. And that's the other beautiful thing with Amazon, right? Basically, you can utilize and leverage Amazon's platform, and it is very, very, very amazing in terms of how dialed in you can actually make it. You can leverage their platform, their customer base, and the cool thing about it is that you don't actually have to come out of your pocket to pay for the advertising, as opposed to Google or Facebook or some other platform. With Amazon, basically, when you start using the Amazon platform for sales or marketing, you're gonna basically just have that as a line item of the expense, or I should say, when Amazon pays you, your money, every 2 weeks they send you a check for what you sold, minus their fees, returns, and the advertising that you actually do. But the cool thing that I have found with Amazon advertising is that you can really dial it in so well that you're gonna see a great ROI, or return on investment, or ROAS, return on ad spend, right? For me, what I look for is 3 to 1. I know that if I can make 3 to 1, meaning if I spend $10,000, I'm gonna make $30,000, that, for me, the math works. right? It's really something that is personal and nuanced to you, your business, your profit margin and all that. But if you're trying to be the low-cost provider and really just sell like super cheap, it's going to destroy you. You're not going to have the margin to advertise. And the bottom line for me is that I'm in business to make money. I'm a capitalist. I don't care about my top line sales if I'm not putting bottom line in my pocket. You got to think about it like that. But there are a lot of brands that'll come on to Amazon and just try to take market share. Now, there is strategy behind trying to be low cost and just acquire a customer if you have other things that you can sell them later on down the line, or sometimes people will actually use like a loss leader as a customer acquisition strategy. They won't actually spend money on advertising. They'll just charge less, knowing that, okay, I can't afford to advertise this product, but if it's basically priced to a point at which people are going to be buying it, right? That's almost like my advertising cost baked in. So you really just need to understand and figure out how it works for you, your business, and your long-term goal and strategy for your company. But in my opinion, don't try and be the low-cost provider. You also shouldn't try to sell anything if it's cheap China crap. All right? Just because you're getting something made or manufactured in China doesn't mean that it's crap. You choose whether or not it's high quality or low quality based on the components that you're actually using to manufacture or make your products. The thing that China does very well is scale, in terms of they manufacture accurately at scale. All right? Enemy sunglasses is a great example. All right? It was made in China, but I use premium manufactured parts, premium components, and so the price was higher to me, right? My cost for those sunglasses was around $25 landed, all right? If you were just to go and get cheaper components, you probably could have gotten them for $12. Unfortunately, I didn't spend enough money, or I should say I didn't charge enough in order to really make that a viable business, because my landed cost was so high and then my price point was so low, which was a mistake that I made, that I couldn't work. I couldn't make it work. The numbers just didn't work. You got to focus on developing a brand that is high quality products that people want, and then figure out a marketing strategy. But just going to China, getting crap, sticking your label on it, and drop shipping it, and thinking you're going to actually sell it on Amazon will not work. The second business that is a side hustle that got really popular a few years ago, but really isn't viable right now, is real estate. And what I mean by real estate is basically buying an asset, using the bank's money, getting rent, and then basically pocketing the delta or the difference, all right? In the old days, when you could borrow money at a low interest rate, the math sometimes worked. You gotta make sure that you're buying a good asset. You gotta make sure that the rent that you're getting from the rental units, whether or not it's an apartment complex or a single, occupancy dwelling, was high enough to cover your carrying cost of the mortgage, the interest, all the taxes, and still have money to put in your pocket. And then typically you would have to refinance later on down the line. But essentially, it's using the bank's money to buy an asset, real estate asset, and then you're gonna make the delta. And when anybody says like make the delta, it's just the difference, all right? If you're paying, call it $10,000 a month, but you're making $12,000 a month in rent, right? $10,000 is going back to the bank, but that $2,000, that's cash flow in your pocket. And this is like super simple math. But now with interest rates being as high as they are, the game has changed. It doesn't work that way. But now, because interest rates are so high, it's expensive to borrow money. And so now, if you're borrowing that same, amount of money, you're still making around $12,000, but your expenses are $14,000. And so you're losing $2,000. Now, of course, there is, basically, you're going to be making money if the asset like appreciates and all that game. But the deal is, I feel like now, if you have cash, that's really where you can find some really good deals when it comes to real estate, because there are a lot of people that don't want to borrow money in order to buy assets, and there are a lot of people that want to get rid of or offload their assets. And so if you've been a good little boy or girl saving your money, I think in the next few years, especially like with things that are going on and banking and inflation and all that stuff, I really feel like you're going to be seeing a lot more distressed assets, and that's when you can actually strike and get some really good deals. And that's what happened with me in my rental unit right next to my office. It was a few years ago, probably like 7 years ago, I ended up buying it. It was bank owned. Basically, there was a guy who had it. He foreclosed on it, and the bank just wanted to get rid of it. They just wanted to get it off of their books. And so I ended up getting that asset for like $330,000. It's 4,000 square feet. It's got about 16, I believe, offices within the building. And now, like, I basically spent like an additional like $30,000 to fix it up. And so I have about $400,000 in that asset, cash. All right, I don't have a loan or anything like that. I paid it off pretty much as quickly as I could because I hate making the bank rich, and that's what happens when you actually are paying interest. And so I paid it off. I have about $400,000 in it, but I make around $75,000 a year in revenue from renting it to the financial institution that actually rents it. I rent it to a wealth management company. And so that $75,000 pays my property taxes for all my other assets, including my home. And so the other cool thing is that that $400,000 investment is valued now at around $1 million. And so that's pretty sweet. Like I said, there are going to be opportunities like this coming up big time in the future. And so if you're somebody that is thinking about getting into real estate, what I would recommend is make sure that your credit score is high. Do not get into debt. All right, save your money, and if the opportunity presents itself and there is an asset and you can grab it, I would grab it. Once the prices start to come down a little bit, and in commercial real estate, I think you're going to see the prices start to drop because a lot of people that are holding the notes on these assets that were overextended don't have the money, and I think you're going to see the foreclosure rate actually increase as the interest rates start to mature and a lot of these loans are coming due. Because the other thing you have to understand is that commercial real estate's, the loan term isn't like a mortgage. It's not like 30 years or 20 years. Typically, it's 5 years on a commercial loan. And then you've got to refinance it or get a loan again. And a lot of these assets they bought high, they're not valued at what they should be. And so they've got more into it than the asset is actually worth. And so they're going to need to get rid of it. And a lot of them are just going to give it back to the bank. And so the banker is going to have these assets that are depreciated, and you're going to be able to get some great deals. So that's it. 2 deals, 2 businesses, 2 side hustles that I personally feel are like not good in 2025. It's not to say that they won't ever come back, but the fact is, A, you need a brand if you're going to be selling anything on Amazon. You also need reviews. You need to be a high quality product. And real estate, another one that in the day was awesome. People were grabbing some great assets. They were using the bank's money. They were cash flowing. They were putting the delta or the difference in their pocket. It was a way to basically leverage somebody else's money to make you money. Well, the game has changed because interest rates now are super high and it's expensive to borrow cash. But if you have the cash, you are in a position of power.